Have you ever imagined what it would be like if someone could travel through time? We're not talking about science fiction, but a story that even left the skeptics surprised. Amidst a growingly skeptical population and an investigation with no answers, a mysterious man appears, carrying clues from a past long forgotten. Some say he came from another era, while others claim it's an elaborate hoax. But what if, just for a second, it were true? Mysteries, missing people, a camera with intriguing photos, everything mixes into a story that defies our perception of reality. Get ready to dive into this bewildering case and, perhaps, rethink what we believe is possible. In 2006, a young man named Sergey appeared like an enigma in Kiev, Ukraine, showing more than just a disoriented look. When found, Sergey carried an ID from the Soviet Union dated 1958, which already sparked curiosity about who he really was. To the surprise of those who took him in, his recorded birth date was 1932, suggesting he was over 70 years old. However, his appearance told a very different story of someone much younger. The growing population around the mystery began to question, who was this man, and how did he seem to have traveled through time? Gradually, word about Sergey spread. With each conversation, people added their own speculations, creating a web of possibilities. He didn't remember what had happened, only fragments of the life that supposedly brought him there. Imagine, in a situation like this, how it would feel to be lost in time. To those who saw him, he seemed to have come from a distant past, like he had leaped right out of history books. A case like this is hard to ignore and raises questions that stir our imagination. Are we really confined to our time? Or is there a larger game at play? Some began to say that maybe the universe has its own rules, where rare individuals can appear from time to time, as if they were pieces of a missing puzzle. Sergey, with his distant gaze and lack of answers, became an intriguing piece, challenging the limits of what we believe possible. Curious how these cases of mysterious disappearances and seemingly displaced people never fail to fascinate us. So the question lingers, how far can an investigation go in search of clues to this mystery? When found, Sergey carried an unusual object that caught anyone's attention, an old Yemiflex camera, as if it had come from another era. Inside were photos of Kiev from the 1950s, with a chilling detail that even unsettled skeptics. One of the images captured an unusual flying object, almost bell-shaped, hovering in the sky. Those who looked at these photos felt like they were seeing something that was meant to remain hidden, as if the camera was revealing a secret forgotten by time. This detail sparked even more suspicion about what had really happened to Sergey. Strangely enough, in the photos, he wore the same clothes he was found in, as if nothing had changed since the 1950s. People looked at these images and wondered, had he really come from another era? The camera seemed to hold clues about the past and perhaps even evidence of time travel, as if it tried to show something many would prefer to ignore. Investigations into missing people often bring revelations, but few are as intriguing as this case. To this day, there are theories about what this camera really meant. Was it just an object from another time, or real evidence of something beyond the ordinary? In a world where the growing population and advancing technology often leave mysteries behind, stories like Sergey's are rare and, therefore, captivate our imagination. Who would have thought a simple object like an old camera could raise so many questions about what is real and what is possible? After being admitted to a psychiatric hospital, Sergey seemed to be under constant observation, yet the mystery around him only deepened. Unexpectedly, he disappeared overnight, leaving behind all his belongings, including the intriguing camera that had drawn so many eyes. This vanishing act, with no clues or method of escape, raises questions about how reality allows for such inexplicable breaches. Many wondered if Sergey was somehow removed from our time, as if he had never truly belonged. The absence of any escape clue or movement was what most impressed everyone. How could he simply disappear without anyone noticing? The hospital was in turmoil, and people around the city speculated on the whereabouts of this enigmatic man. Have you ever heard of cases where clues seem to hide on purpose, almost as if the mystery itself protects itself? That's the feeling one gets when trying to understand what happened to Sergey on the night he vanished without a trace. For the superstitious, Sergey's disappearance was a sign that something much bigger was at play, something beyond our modern comprehension. Many associated his vanishing with forces operating in the shadows, perhaps seeking to keep certain secrets hidden. Curious minds are quick to launch into these investigations, but often, the more you search, the more questions arise. After all, how can one continue investigating something that seems so determined to remain hidden? As Sergey's story spread, rumors of possible time travel began to gain traction. In a short time, the case gained urban legend status, with reports of all kinds, especially after a Ukrainian TV series decided to dramatize the story. Many were captivated by the idea that Sergey could have actually traveled through time, and through the series, speculations and versions of the story were mixed into a captivating narrative. However, when examined closely, it becomes clear that the series was just dramatizations with no concrete proof. For many, the dramatization brought more doubts than answers. With each episode, viewers became immersed in the possibility of time being manipulated. But as the scenes unfolded, inconsistencies began to emerge. The series explored facts and mysteries with an engaging approach, but the script itself suggested elements that, to critics, were exaggerated or even impossible. It's interesting how a story can transform depending on how it's told. Who hasn't watched a series blending reality and fiction to the point of questioning what truly happened? Sergey's case, over time, became an example of how mysteries can be explored and even manipulated. It's not uncommon that, in investigations or searches for clues, truth becomes mixed with popular imagination. For outsiders, these narratives almost seem to spark a desire to believe in the improbable as a way of escaping the ordinary. In the end, Sergey's case reminds us that, in stories like these, the line between real and invented is often so thin it's easy to cross. As Sergey's mystery gained visibility, scientists and skeptics began to question the story's elements with an analytical eye. After all, a time travel story always attracts doubt, and this case was no different. It soon became clear that some dates on the documents and even Sergey's personal items didn't match the periods they should represent. This attention to detail ended up revealing several inconsistencies, suggesting that Sergey's story might be more a product of imagination than an actual event. For investigators, the clues left behind revealed more gaps than answers. The elements that composed the narrative, like the camera and photos, began to appear as mere props of a modern myth without due authenticity. A more detailed analysis of the images showed typical anomalies of staging, which made skeptics ask, how many of these stories that fascinate us are truly based on facts? Often, the truth is right there, visible, but mysteries are fueled by our eagerness to believe in the extraordinary. This skepticism around Sergey's story serves as an important reminder about the role of science and logic in the face of enigmatic phenomena. Scientific investigation is often neither attractive nor spectacular. It relies on facts, evidence, and dismantles imagination in search of solid answers. For those seeking truth amid mysteries, science offers a steady path, though not always the most exciting. Yet, the more explanations arise, the more popular fascination remains, as if what's unexplainable is truly what we want to preserve. The theory of time travel has fascinated humanity for decades, and Sergey's case gave it even more strength. When we think of traveling through time, complex concepts immediately arise, like Einstein's theory of relativity, which postulates the possibility of closed time curves. These time curves could theoretically allow a journey between different moments, but the topic involves paradoxes as well as mysteries. One of them is the famous grandfather paradox, where a simple action in the past could potentially change an entire timeline. For those venturing to understand time theories, it's not just a question of science. It's also an attempt to unravel the limits of our reality. Einstein brought ideas that still echo in modern science, but also in our culture. Today, books, movies, and series explore time paradoxes, fueling popular imagination. Imagine what would happen if someone could actually change the past. The impact would be devastating, and stories like Sergey's keep alive the interest in what could happen if such technology truly existed. This fascination with time travel reveals a deep restlessness we have regarding the present, the past, and the future. Theorists claim that, even if time travel were possible, the process would require extremely advanced technology, almost inconceivable with what we have today. Yet, as science advances, the desire to unravel the mysteries of time continues. Perhaps it's one of those themes we'll never let go of because, at some point, we've all asked ourselves, what if we could actually travel to another moment? So, what would you do with all this knowledge? Stories like Sergey's challenge us to question the limits of reality, but they also teach us to look carefully at what we don't fully understand. Are there secrets of time hidden around us, waiting to be discovered? Or is the real mystery in our desire to believe in the impossible? If this story left you thinking, perhaps it's time to keep exploring. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss upcoming discussions. There are many mysteries waiting to be unveiled.